Today, we bring a story of a man who plans his revenge on his cheating wife for over 20 years. My name is Matt. I am 56-year-old, and as of today, I am single. I have been single for the last 20 years. I got divorced 20 years ago, and my divorce is what shaped my life till the day I got my revenge on my ex-wife and her partner. Let me give you a background on what happened. I met Lisa at a party hosted by a common friend. She was standing alone in a corner, and I approached her. It took some time before she opened up for a conversation. We had a great time that night. She was amazing. By the end of the night, we exchanged numbers and decided to meet again. We met a week later, and soon we started dating. After a month of dating, we had our first intimate session. I started working at a local IT firm as a software developer, and Lisa was working at a local advertisement firm. We used to go out for movies every week. Lisa loved hiking, and I had to get in shape for that. I loved every moment I spent with her. After dating for about 3 years, we got married. My family was happy, but my father-in-law, Donald, was not very happy. He was a rich man, well-connected, and wanted her daughter to marry a rich man like him. I never got along with him. He used to compare me with other men he knew, who could have been a much better option for his daughter. I did not hold back at times. I used to berate him by telling him that if I had that much money, I would be humble and more intelligent. My mother-in-law, Linda, never spoke a lot, but I knew that she shared her husband's opinion. I used to try and keep my distance from Lisa's parents. Lisa knew the issues between me and her parents, but never left my side. I kept my head high and decided to put a lot of effort in my profession. I worked extra hours and started to get more money. A year later, we had a beautiful daughter, Cindy. I was on cloud 9. My in-laws also came in and showered my daughter with loads of gifts and also gave Lisa more money. I later got to know that Lisa was getting money from her parents every month. I had a word with Lisa, and she was very adamant and stated that I should keep my nose out of her business. I kept away from it as she was the only daughter and was the heir to her parents' assets. These assets soon vanished in a stock market crash. Linda's father lost a ton of money. His business went down, and it got so bad that they had to sell their house and other assets and move into a smaller apartment. All that within a span of just 1 year. Meanwhile, I was still getting better. I did meet Donald a few times, and during these meetings he was a bit humble. I felt that he was broken. My mother-in-law, Linda, also was now talking to me. I kept my distance and did not berate them or try to rub the situation at them. During this time, Lisa was getting distant. She would lash out at me for no apparent reason. Intimacy in bed was non-existent. A few days before my daughter's 3rd birthday, Donald and Linda both passed away tragically in a car crash. Lisa was heartbroken, and we had to cancel the birthday. My wife was now even more distant from me. She was spending a lot of time away from home, and I had to shuffle between working and taking care of my daughter. A small pointer that I missed was that all this while I was making videos of my daughter growing up. I used to document her small moments every day. There were days where she was alone with me when her mother was out for parties. I did have talks with Lisa multiple times about her absence and her recent attitude. I offered to get to therapy and get things sorted, but nothing worked. She kept coming back drunk, and I started to get hints that she was cheating on me as well. There were days that she came home drunk, and I used to guide her to the bedroom. On one such occasion, I saw that she was not wearing her panties. I had seen her in the morning wearing one when she came out of the shower. I was furious and left her lying on the floor that night. Next day, I spoke to a friend, and he suggested to get a private investigator look into the matter. I did the same and hired someone. It took 2 months, and I finally met the guy, and he placed a ton of images, videos, and call recordings. She was cheating on me with a guy named Gordon. He was a rich man, son of a friend of Donald, Lisa's childhood friend. This news crushed me. I went home and wanted to confront Lisa with the evidence. That night I was playing with my daughter, and we were video documenting our session. Suddenly, Lisa came home with a lawyer. I was surprised. She beat me. She gave me the divorce papers and stated that she will be taking full custody of our daughter and will also be taking much of my assets. I decided to contest the divorce. I was not willing to go down without a fight. It was a fight where I lost more than I won. I retained my house, lost my daughter. In the court, I was able to prove that Lisa was cheating on me, but it did not matter. Lisa took my daughter and had left town. I later found out that she moved in with Gordon. This happened 20 years ago. Today, I am a different man. I never got into a relationship again. I focused my life to just earning money. I worked hard, invested smart, and made a ton of money. I never looked back and never tried to contact Lisa or my daughter. A few months ago, I decided to find my daughter. After searching for 2 weeks, I found out about my daughter and I decided to meet her. I got her social media details and sent her a message that I am her father and wanted to meet her. She was a bit skeptical to meet but decided to meet me. 2 days later, I met her and her fiancé, Gary. Her first reaction was of anger. She went on a triad of insults at me and called me all sorts of names for cheating on her mother and leaving them both to fend for themselves. I was expecting this. I heard her rants and waited for her to calm down. Cindy was not interested to waste her time with me, but Gary asked her to sit down. Gary seemed like a level-headed guy and asked if I wanted to say something. I did not speak a lot but took out a file. It was the divorce file that was part of the court's ruling. I handed it to Gary and asked him to read. To my surprise, he was a lawyer. He read through it and then apologized to me. Cindy was a bit taken aback and asked Gary why is he apologizing to me. Gary explained the entire case and Cindy was silent. I then took out my laptop and played some videos that were shot 20 years ago. Looking at the videos, Cindy started crying. She got up and hugged me and told me that Lisa had been lying to her the whole time. Then for the first time in last 20 years, I spoke to my daughter. "I missed you, princess." She started to cry. I took them to my hotel room and wanted to ask them about their lives. Cindy told me that Lisa and Gordon are still not married and they just live in the same house. Gordon is a slime ball and has never treated Cindy properly. There have been times when he has even hit her. Lisa did protest, but she could never go against him. She was just interested in the money and did not want to lose the lifestyle Gordon provided. Cindy stated that she moved out of the house when she was 18 years old and has been living away from Lisa. She told me how she met Gary and how they started dating, and she told me that they wanted to get married soon. She told me that Gary is from a small town and is not from a very rich background. I saw a younger version of me that day. I told them that I would help them get married. Gary tried to stop me and stated that they will manage that. I smiled and stated that I do not have anyone in my life except my daughter, and now you by extension. So, I would be happy if you can allow me to arrange everything for you. They agreed and left. Later that night, Cindy called me and asked to meet. I was a bit surprised and agreed. She came to me with Gary and we had a long discussion. The marriage was set for 7 weeks from now and preparations went underway. Lisa got the news of the marriage as Cindy informed her. She was happy and was very excited when she heard about the venue of the marriage. She was invited, and so was Gordon. So far, no one knew that I was in town. Cindy met me a day later and informed that Lisa was very excited and was bragging to her friends that she had made the arrangements to the venue and that Gordon will be walking me down the aisle. I smiled. Finally, the day arrived. I reached the venue and sat in a corner. Soon I could see people coming in, and finally Lisa came in with Gordon. They looked like they were the perfect couple, and it seemed by their expression that they were surprised by the arrangement. Why are you surprised if you paid for it? I thought to myself. Soon, the bride came in with her bridesmaids. Gordon proudly walked up to Cindy and gave her his arm. He felt a tap on his shoulder and looked back in surprise. The security asked him to move away. He stated that he is the father and he would be walking her down. Cindy looked at him and told him to go back and sit down. Gordon was furious and was about to hit her. Suddenly, he felt his wrist held by someone and looked back. I told him that it would be a very bad move and it is better he walks away. He was a bit shocked to see me and stepped aside. I gave Cindy my arm and walked her to Gary. Lisa was shocked to see me. Gary and Cindy got married and it was time for the family pics. Gordon and Lisa walked up for the pictures. It was at this moment that security stopped them again and did not allow them to be part of the family picture. Lisa and Gordon were furious and started to scream and create a scene. I waved my hand and they were escorted out. The next day, there was an article on the second page of the local newspaper about the marriage. The article did not stop on just how the marriage was grand. It also talked about the bride's family, how her mother cheated on her father and is currently living with another man who was abusive to the bride since her childhood. The article was written by none other than Cindy. A day later, I left the town as Cindy and Gary left for their honeymoon. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Lisa. She was crying and stated Gordon is beating her after he read the article. That article has made him lose all his clients and suppliers. He's almost in ruins and is blaming me for all of this. She kept saying sorry and wanted me to come save her. I heard her crying and howling. Then after 7 minutes and 35 seconds, I got bored and hung up. It was the last of her. I am still single and don't intend to mingle with anything. Until next time.
Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.
Today, we bring the story of a man who is hell-bent to get his vengeance on his cheating wife and will leave no stones unturned for it. Let's start. My name is Luke. I am 45-year-old and I was married to Lana, who was 42-year-old when we got divorced. I own an automobile garage. I built this place from the scratch and I am proud of my effort and hard work. We live in a big house that I bought after working years and saving for years. Lana and I have been married for 16 years and have 2 kids, 12-year-old daughter, Maria, and 8-year-old son, Mark. The community where I live is pretty close one. Everyone knows everyone. We also have monthly barbecue and small parties. On one such family barbecue, we were at a friend's house. Corey was a single father with 2 daughters, same age as my kids. His wife cheated on him and ran away with her affair partner. He also deals in selling weed. At the barbecue, I could not find my wife and went looking for her. I found her in the garage. Corey had his hand in her panties and his tongue down her throat. Lana was moving her hips in sync with his hand. I lost my mind. I walked up and landed a punch on Corey's face. He went down and I kept landing on his face. He covered up and my wife freaked out and tried to pull me from her AP. I screamed at her and told her we are leaving right now. She tried to pacify me and asked me to calm down. It was nothing, just a kiss. I shot back. He had his hand drilling your hole and you were calling as nothing. You walk right now or never come back to the house ever again. She reluctantly went with me, grabbed the kids, and we went home. At home, she put the kids to bed and we started to argue. She kept defending her actions by saying that it was nothing. I then went silent, walked to my fridge, took out a beer. With a cold demeanor, I asked her, "How many times did you fuck him?" She knew I was not buying her lame excuses. "A couple of times in last few weeks. You were dead to me as a wife. Don't expect anything from me anymore." I was dead inside. She kept crying and stating that it was nothing. She just wanted to have some pleasure. I could hear her, but the only thing I heard was a faint ringing in my ears. I was about to pass out. I put my head back and closed my eyes. I could hear my heart beating and my veins throbbing on my forehead. A few seconds later, I looked up and saw my wife still trying to talk. I held up my hand and told her to shut up. I went to my bedroom and shut the door. I did not let her come in. She tried to knock the door. I told her to sleep on the couch. As I lay in my bed, the only emotion I had in me was revenge. I can share my cigarette, not my wife. I had 2 targets here, Corey and Lana. I don't care about the fallout, but I will get my revenge. The gears in my mind started rolling. Next morning, I started phase 1 of my plan. I had to take out Corey. I knew he was dealing in weed. I have bought from him earlier. I knew when his supplier come and goes. This time he will come but not leave. He was arrested. 5 pounds of Mexican weed was confiscated. That will take care of him for a while. My wife called me after a few hours of Corey's arrest. She asked if I snitched on him. I shot back. "Why do you care? Are you missing his fingers already?" She hung up. I knew there would be fallout but did not expect what I saw once I was back at my place. Both of Corey's kids were at my house. I asked my wife, "Why are they here? They need to leave." My wife came forward saying that Corey was your friend and you should take care of his kids. Taking care? He should have thought about that when he put his dick in you. They need to leave now or else the consequences will be grave. My wife tried to stop me, but I threatened to call child services in case they are not gone. I did not intend to hurt the kids, but Corey should have been careful. Dealing in drugs and having kids to cater to don't mix well. I am not responsible for the kids' misfortune. She sent them to another neighbor. That night I again did not allow Lana in the bedroom. The next morning, I took the kids for their football practice. Lana also joined us. My daughter was friends with Corey's daughter, and after the practice, she walked up to me holding hands, her friend, and asked if she can sleep over tonight. I could not say no. I was a bit guilty to put the kids through this. I allowed this and bought Corey's kids were at my place that night. That night, Lana did not knock the door and slept on the couch. Next morning, I asked Corey's kids, "Where should I drop you?" They looked a bit sad, but I had no choice. I had to be heartless. My wife stopped and stated that the kids will stay. I looked at her, walked up to her. I looked into her eyes and stated, "So you made your choice. It's time to deal with it." I went to my room, packed my bags and left. I made myself comfortable at my garage. I had to do it. It was going to be my home for a long time now. This battle just entered the phase 2. I did not speak to or call Lana or my kids for the next 2 weeks. A week later, I saw Lana enter my garage. She entered the office and closed the door. She sat down and started crying. She said that she was sorry and wanted me to come back. The kids miss you, and I miss you. What about Corey's kids? Are they still at our house? She said yes. Get the fuck out of here, and don't come back to talk as long as they're in my house. She got angry and accused me being sadistic and putting kids on the streets. Did their father think about his kids when he was selling drugs? Did he think of the consequences when was drilling you? Did you think about the results when you opened your pleasure hole for that man? Let me tell you, no, you did not. Now get out of here. She started crying and fell to her knees. She then stated that she needs money to buy groceries. I stated that I had filled the stocks. How did it finish within 20 days? Oh, let me guess. You have extra mouths to feed. She started crying. I threw $100 at her and asked to get out. She came forward and hugged me. She then kissed me on the lips and tried to push her tongue in my mouth. I stared in her eyes and turned her around, pushed her down on the table and took off her panties. I took out a rubber and proceeded to drill her right there. She moaned, and more she moaned, the more I got angrier. I finished, and she fell to the floor. She started to fix her clothes and got up. I handed her a $5 bill. She looked confused. I looked into her eyes and stated, I pay for the services used. She was shocked. She looked at the bill and looked shocked. I shot back. I pay for what it is worth. She ran out crying. Now for phase 3. I called all my staff and had a small meeting with them. I told them that going further, we will only be working on cash and not other means of transaction. I told them that I was going to divorce my wife and explained what is going on. My staff has been with me as long as the garage, and they all agreed to help. The very next day, we sold off the inventory to other garage for cash. We started services with only cash payments. 2 weeks later, I filed for bankruptcy. That will help me reduce alimony amounts to be paid. I went to a divorce lawyer and explained what is going on and informed what I have done and what I want. He asked to stay away from Lana and also stated that I might lose the house and the garage. I was willing to lose everything. My dignity had been trampled and I just wanted to salvage what is left of it. Next morning was a bad one. I got the news that Corey was given a bail and will be out for a few weeks. I was upset, but it was also a chance to get evidence against my wife. I asked one of my staff to keep an eye on my house, and any car that needs to be tested will be driven near Corey's house. 3 days later, Corey's kids were back at his place, and my wife was also seen visiting him. Since Corey might be under surveillance by the police, he will need a carrier for his drug operations. It could be my wife. I was horrified at the thought of this. My kids' safety was at risk. A week later, I had Lana served with the divorce papers. I knew she would call, and she did. I started recording the call. She opened the call with abuses and went on a rant. She stated how Corey was good with his tongue, how he was having sex with her every day when I was at work and the kids were at school. She claimed that she will be making a lot of money now that Corey is back. Although she did not say how, I could understand. She threatened how I will lose my house, my garage, and my kids. She stated her plans to have Corey adopt my kids and never let me see them ever again. I laughed and said that we will meet at the court. I sent the recording to my lawyer and then gave a small visit to the local police station. The very next day, I got a call from the police station. It was Lana. She was crying and asked me to come and bail her out. I laughed at the irony that she has been arrested because of me and I am now supposed to go and get her out. I did not say a word and hung up. I went to my house and that night I slept in my bed. I felt like a king coming back to his kingdom after a battle. Peace did not last long. Lana was out on bail 2 days later and she came home. I was prepared. I told her that she was a risk to my kids and I do not want her near them. I had already called the child services and told them that my wife is a drug dealer and we need to keep her away from my kids. She tried to force her way into the house. I stood back and walked out of the house and made one phone call. In minutes, cops reached my house and I informed that my soon-to-be ex-wife has to be evicted from the house. She was inside when the cops reached her and asked her to move out. I informed that the deed of the house is in my name, and then I displayed the restraining order against her. She screamed and lunged at me. The cops restrained her and told her to calm down else she will be going back to the jail. She did not listen. She picked up a flower vase and threw at me. It hit me on the forehead and I started bleeding. Inside I was more than happy. She was handcuffed and taken back to the jail. I pressed charges for assault. A few weeks later, I met her in the court. My lawyer produced the call recording where Lana had threatened me. The cops testified about my wife's violent behavior and her recent involvement with drugs was the caviar. She lost the custody of the kids and I did lose the house. The good thing was that I never had to pay alimony. It was few weeks later that I got to know that both Corey and Lana were found guilty of drug trafficking and were sentenced for more than 5 years in prison. That night, I took the kids out for a party, and although I had the sense of victory, I had the sense of sadness. I had lost my wife, my house, and my family is broken. Corey's kids were sent to foster homes. I felt bad for them. Although I never intended for them to get hurt, I still feel bad for them. Until next time.
Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.